My name is Paul Osman. I lead the site reliability engineering team for Under Armour Connected Fitness. We're the group who deliver MapMyFitness, MyFitnessPal, and Endomondo, our fitness tracking and nutrition tracking apps. We work with engineers on back-end services and mobile teams who are working on application features. We help them define success criteria for their services. We help them ease the operations of those services by lending a hand, adding observability, making the services easier to debug in production. And we also lead the incident response process. So this is when something happens that might have a negative effect on our customers. How do we internally respond to it as engineers so that we can fix it as quickly as possible? Before we started using Blameless, our incident response process involved a lot of manual steps. Most notably, whoever was in charge of coordinating the incident response, we call that role the incident commander, would start up a Slack channel, would create a Jira ticket, would keep periodic updates going to different Slack channels for non-engineering stakeholders to keep track of, and really manage manually all of these different comm steps. Also, getting the right team together was a manual step, so that would involve, finding out who you needed to be on the response team for an incident, and working through tools like PagerDuty to make sure that that you page the right on-call for that team. As with any manual process, there's going to be a tendency for people to forget steps, especially when you're in the stress of managing an incident in real time in production. This is something that's affecting your customers, affecting your internal engineers right now. So we found that oftentimes, or an incident commander through no fault of their own would just simply forget to update maybe a status dashboard, or maybe they would forget to post updates to a status Slack channel, or forget to create a ticket so that we could track the overall impact of the incident. And Blameless helps us automate these steps away so that fewer steps are actually forgotten during our process. One thing that's common in incident response, and something that we've certainly experienced, is managing communication is really difficult. If you're in charge of coordinating an incident response, you have a number of different stakeholders, and those stakeholders require different granularities of information. You're working with engineers who are responding to an incident, and so they're tasked with fixing a problem. What they want you to do is help coordinate their efforts. So if I'm an engineer who has to look at something specific, I want the incident commander to be focused on, assigning me that task and making sure that there's no overlap in efforts during an incident response. On the other hand, you have executives and non-engineering stakeholders. This can even include your customer support teams who are responsible for communicating to users. If they're not getting regular, substantive updates on the progress on an incident, they can often come looking for answers naturally. This is something that we experienced where, executives, well-meaning, would come into incident response channels and start asking, hey, can I get an update on what's going on? And because people were forgetting to update, non-engineering Slack channels, this was happening. So since using Blameless, Blameless keeps updates going to non-engineering Slack channels, which allows executive or customer support stakeholders to know what's going on without having to be directly involved in an incident. So building a tool internally was definitely an option for us. We have limited resources. We don't want to dedicate internal effort to building tools that other people have already built. That would also mean that we'd be responsible for maintaining that tool and for continuously updating that tool, which is just not where we would rather spend our effort. We want to solve the problems that are unique to Under Armour, not the problems that have to do with automating workflows and managing incident response. So the biggest value for us in Blameless is the fact that it automates things for people. Incidents are stressful. And when you're responding to an incident, you're in a state of heightened stress. You don't want to be thinking about checklists. You don't want to be thinking about, have I done X, Y, or Z according to some process. And so having a tool that abstracts those decisions away from you frees up your decision-making abilities to focus on what's really unique about that incident. The big thing for us that Blameless has done is take a certain amount of stress away from incident responders. The fact that they don't have to keep that checklist in their mind, the fact that they don't have to think about the process, and allows the tool to actually automate those steps for them is huge.